Today I'm going to tell you about music school, why it's probably a bad idea, and also why it might not be. So I want to start off by saying that I went to music school. I got a degree from Humber College in Toronto, Canada, and I don't regret it. I think I had a great experience there, and we're going to talk about a lot of the good things, the bad things, and you can ultimately make a decision for yourself. So this video isn't designed to dissuade you from going to music school, and I think that it's really great for a lot of people. I benefited from it a lot. And by the end of this video, if it is something that's right for you, I hope that this will make it even more clear. But there are some things to be aware of just so that you know what you're getting into. And we're also going to talk about how you could potentially get the same or even better quality of education at a much lower price. First, let's talk about the good things. Number one is the information. You'll learn a lot about music theory, a lot about technique. You'll get to study with some of the people, hopefully at the top of their field, depending on where you go. That was certainly the case at Humber. The faculty was incredible. And in my time there, I learned enough material to keep me busy in the practice room for decades. Of course, there's a lot of great information online as well, and much of it is free, but you need to know where to look for it, which can be challenging because there's a lot of information out there, unfortunately, that's just not very good. I do my best on this channel to bring you as much quality information as I can, and if there's something that you're wondering about, something that you would like to see content on, let me know in the comments below, and I appreciate the feedback. I'll do some videos on the stuff you guys want to see. So that's one great thing about music school is you have all this information curated for you and put in a nice little package. There's no one right way to do things, but you're given a lot of things to think about, a lot of things to practice. But that's not even close to the main benefit of going to music school. Because like I said, all of that information is available for free online if you know where to look. So this brings me to the second point, which is more valuable than the information itself. You actually get to interact one-on-one or in small group settings with these faculty members who are, like I said, hopefully at the top of their craft. They really know their stuff, and you get to hear them play in person and absorb the information that way. And you can also ask them questions and maybe play with them. Hopefully you get weekly private lessons on your instrument as well. For me, that was one of the most valuable parts of my degree. I got to study one-on-one every week with some of the best brass and piano players in the country. It can also be great to develop relationships and connections with these people who are further along in their careers and can really give you some guidance and some foresight into what to expect in the industry. As valuable as that is, though, it's not the number one reason that music school was beneficial to me. I think, without a doubt, the number one thing that stands out that really made me the musician that I am today is my peers and the people who I was playing with every day and hanging out with after class. And a lot of those connections are still people that I'm very good friends with and that I work with and play with all the time. I think I definitely learned more from my peers than I did from the faculty itself. As great as they are and as much as I learned from them, I just spent so much time hanging out and playing with my friends. We would have jam sessions every single day, and we'd be rehearsing for different things and just listening to music and bouncing ideas off of one another. And like I said, there are people who are further along in their career with the faculty members. They're older, they've been through a lot of the challenges of the music industry, but it's different now. A lot of the faculty, they came up in a time where there was a lot of session work to be had, gigs paid more. You know, the times, they were just different. And as much wisdom as this older generation has, there are also certain challenges within the music industry that our generation more or less has to learn to navigate on their own. And I think it's really important to meet a lot of people and to hang out with people that you vibe with and build these relationships, because that's what's really going to help you push each other forward, because it really is a lot about who you know. You need to be good too, but that's not enough. There is no shortage of insanely talented and hardworking musicians out there. So that's just kind of the baseline. It's almost a given that you can play your instrument really well. So when somebody has the option of 15 different people who can all play the part, they're going to call the person that they like working with and who they know is going to show up on time, knowing the music, dressed for the part, you know, just taking everything into consideration. And the other thing that I really enjoyed about my experience there was that you're combining a lot of different influences musically, I kind of got exposed to all of that, and I got opportunities to play different styles of music that I otherwise might not have. So you might be thinking, that sounds great, sign me up. But there's two main reasons why you might not want to do that. The first one seems pretty obvious, but it might not be. And it's just, are you really committed? Because you have to understand what it takes to make it. And even myself at this point, I've been able to make a living off of music for the past few years since I've graduated, but it hasn't been glamorous and it's been a lot of hard work. You really need to be prepared to treat it as a full-time job and make a lot of sacrifices because nothing is given to you. You know, there are a lot of great hangs and social benefits, but there's also a lot of sacrifice. You need to be spending a lot of time in a practice room, often by yourself, and, you know, just putting in the work day after day. And it can be easy to get burnt out. And when that happens, you know, take a break. There's nothing wrong with that, but you need to be prepared to keep going and to really be resilient because it takes a long time to start to get some traction. You just really have to be prepared to pay your dues and to play a lot of gigs, and a lot of them aren't going to pay very well. Some of them will. But yeah, I think it's just really important to make sure that you're dedicated to pursuing it as a career and putting in the work. And if there's really nothing else that you would rather be doing, nothing else that you could see yourself pursuing and being happy, maybe you're watching this and thinking, yeah, that's me, like I want this, then maybe music school is right for you. It can really be a helpful tool. Even if that is the case for you though, there are alternate paths. There's no like one way to break into the industry. And I think a lot of the benefits that you get from going to music school can be achieved in other ways that can be less expensive and potentially more suited to the way that you would want to learn. So like I said earlier in this video, there are three main benefits of going to music school, the first of which is the information, and that's readily available online. So if you want more resources like that on how to practice, different exercises you can do, and advice on how to become a well-rounded musician, subscribe to my channel and hit the bell icon so that you'll know when I post something new. But like I said, the info is only one small part of the benefit. You also want to align yourself with some masters of the trade. Depending on what city you live in, this will be easier or more difficult. So if you're really serious, you probably want to move to a metropolitan area. In Canada, Toronto's a great place to be for the music scene. Montreal, I've also heard, is quite good. In States, you have New York, New Orleans, especially for like the blues and traditional jazz kind of scene. You want to just make sure that you're putting yourself in an environment where you're able to succeed. Of course, with modern technology, you can also take lessons on Skype with some really high caliber musicians. So if you don't live in a city where it's possible to study with these people in person, that's something that I would definitely look into. And right now, as I'm filming this video, we're all in lockdown for COVID anyways, so that's kind of the only option at the moment. But as soon as it's possible and as soon as it's safe to do so, I would definitely recommend studying with some people in person and getting that one-on-one kind of experience and relationship. Even the highest caliber teachers are about $100 per lesson. So if you were to go to music school, you would get about 30 of those per year because the school year is 8 months long and there are a few weeks off for exams and holidays and stuff like that. So 30 high caliber lessons per year would cost you anything between $2,000 and $3,000. And the average tuition in Canada is around $7,000 to $8,000. And in the States, it's significantly more than that. So this is an expense and it's not cheap, but it's worth it. And it's a lot cheaper than paying tuition at a music school. And there's also no busy work involved. You can focus on actually absorbing the information and practicing it every day without having to worry about different assignments and meeting deadlines and stuff like that. For some people, I think that can be very beneficial to have that sort of structure. So it all depends on how you learn. I found for me personally, I would really excel at the things that I was interested in and investing in, like improvising and learning about harmony and theory and ear training, stuff like that. And then there were other things that I would kind of blow off anyways. But I think often the rate that you're given this information at is a little bit overwhelming, and there's no way that you could possibly take it all in at once. So you sort of need to focus on one thing at a time anyways. And the third and final thing, like I mentioned before, is building your network and building a community of people that you can play with. And I think the best way to do this, aside from going to music school, it's really great for that because often you're all living in the same area, maybe even in the same building if you're on residence, which is way too expensive. Don't do that. It's really dumb. Like, even if you're watching this video and you're like, okay, like this does seem like it's something for me, I want to go to music school, that's great. I think you should go, but do not stay on residence. It's, don't, just, hey, look at me. Promise me you won't do it. I want you to promise me. I'm not going to keep going until you promise. Okay, thank you. Just, it's dirty. You're going to get sick. You're lucky if you have a window. Okay, maybe not that. But you're going to pay like twice as much as you would for a way nicer place like down the street. Just walk to campus. It's fine. So the third and final thing, and in my opinion the most important one, is to build your network and go out and see a lot of shows, play with a lot of different people. And honestly, the best way to do that is to just go to as many jam sessions as you can, go to as many live performances as you can. And a lot of these will be free, especially if you're sitting in. But let's say on average it's $10 and, you know, maybe you'll have a few drinks, but let's assume that you have some sort of self-control and you're not going to be drinking at all these shows. If you go to 5 of them a week, that's $50 a week, $200 a month, times that by 12, that's $2,400. That plus the $2,000 to $3,000 you're spending on private lessons, you're still clocking in at around $5,000, which is much cheaper than music school. Plus, if you're doing it this way, you're probably going to be gigging and you're going to be making at least that much from your gigs. You might have to have another part or even full-time job. And that's actually another nice thing about music school is that you just have the time to work on your craft. But of course, then the downside is that you're taking out a loan to do that in most cases. And then you have a lot of debt. So it's, you know, it's a toss-up. But if you're taking this approach and doing it properly, meaning, you know, like actually making an effort to meet new people and go out and explore different scenes and really like be that person that everybody knows and everybody likes and sounds good and is reliable, then I honestly think that that's a better and like more real education than going to music school. That said, I think when I first moved to this city, I just got out of high school and I went to music school. I wouldn't have been able to do that. I didn't have like the knowledge. I didn't know what to look for or what was important. So for me personally, I don't regret it. I think I had a great experience there, and I think there's a lot of good things to be said about it, and maybe it is for you. Maybe you need that kind of structure. But ultimately, I just want everybody to know, if you're thinking about getting into this, it's going to take a lot of work and dedication, and you're probably going to have to live thrifty for a while with roommates and pay your dues. And there's a lot of fun to be had, a lot of great social benefits, and playing music for a living is incredible, but it's not as glamorous as it may seem. And I also don't want you to think that that's the only way to get into the industry, because nobody cares if you have a degree on a gig. I mean, maybe for some teaching stuff, that's true, it comes in handy. But if you know what to do and you know what to look for, there are other